I'm Ted Fisher. I'm here to give my testimony and talk about my relationship with Jesus Christ and the profound effect that He has had on my life. I came from a Baptist family. My mother was quite religious. And I was originally saved at 11 years old. I did that at a summer camp up in the Bighorn Mountains. Well, within a few months, I guess, I'd kind of got in with the wrong crowd of kids and got in trouble and in school and out of school. And anyhow, I spent the next 35 years going the wrong way, moving away from Christ. Just was wanting more and more things and more material things, and whether it was a better, faster motorcycle or a faster car or prettier girlfriend or whatever the case might be, just was wanting and just couldn't satisfy that. By 2008, I was settled in pretty well and into a good job I liked, and a girlfriend, and had a couple motorcycles, and I was racing stock cars, and I still was kind of a thrill seeker, I guess, but could never fill that big hole in my life. Then on Labor Day weekend in 2009, I was racing my stock car and raced Friday night and won both my races. Was feeling real good, feeling on top of the world. Woke up in the middle of the night that night and had some intense shoulder and back pain, and finally went into the emergency room the next day, and just about the same time my fingers had quit moving, and about 4 hours, within 4 hours I was paralyzed, and went into emergency surgery that night, and woke up 2 days later in the intensive care unit. I was a quadriplegic. I could barely move my left arm and nothing else. I went into rehab hospital, and I was able to recover some movement in my arms, and couldn't understand why and how this could happen to me, and I hated my life. I made a feeble attempt at suicide, and it didn't work, luckily. And after the rehab, I went to a nursing home here in Casper, and I just couldn't believe how my life had changed. Went from a somewhat satisfied life to a life I just absolutely hated. Couldn't believe I was 46 years old and in a nursing home. I wanted to die. I just felt worthless and useless, and I hated God for doing this to me, and anytime I mentioned God, it was in a negative way. And then in 2010, I went to a Christmas service at a local church here, and really broke down. I knew I had to come back to Christ, but I was still resisting. And a few months later, I was in the hospital with a blood clot in my lung. Really contemplated on just stopping all meds, and thought about maybe that'd be the way out and still be an acceptable way to die. Lying in bed one day, and Doug Bradley came into my room and asked me if I'd mind if he came in and talked to me about Christ. And we talked a while, and I started coming to Cornerstone Church regularly and studying and listening and studying the Bible. And the more I studied and the more I read, I was beginning to get back into a good relationship with Christ. And one day it just suddenly hit me, like I've always been pretty hard-headed. It took me took a pretty good whack to make me realize it, but I suddenly knew why I'd been paralyzed, and it was to come back and do work for God. And even in spite of being a quadriplegic still, confined to a wheelchair, got a full life now. I don't feel like I'm longing for anything, I'm looking for anything. I found that big empty hole I was trying to fill, and that's what it was. It was that longing for a good relationship with Christ and a good view on my Christian fellowship. Finally, God got my attention by paralyzing me, and I'm happy that He did. Every day is going to be a good day. Might have a little more pain than others, but it's not going to be a bad day.